Austin, Texas, one of the best places in the universe to live. In fact, a lot of magazines like Leisure and Living and career magazines, computer magazines, lifestyle magazines, all put Austin in the top 10, sometimes in the very number one spot. Going back to the early 90s, it was just ranking on all these lists. And you know what happened? People read these lists and they moved here. And they've really put a damper on the quality of life in Austin, Texas. One of those things is traffic. Today, on the Heaven's Middle podcast, we're not going to be talking traffic, but I'm going to be recording it in the car. That's right, I'm driving Joan Jetta, my 2014 Volkswagen Jetta. It's got a black heart sticker on the front. That's another story. But today on the podcast, we're here in the car with Doug. Hello. I want to tell you a story about a hitchhiker. I do not pick up hitchhikers. That's kind of my rule. It's kind of a scary thing. You know, I was born in 63. I was 9 months old and could have shot John F. Kennedy myself if I would have had a rifle, would have been strong enough to pull it. I did poop my pants the day he was shot. I can tell you that. But anyway, so I grew up at a time when the Jesus movement happened. Hippies were getting saved. There was tales of angels being picked up as hitchhikers, and but nevertheless, there was also Charles Manson and all other types of grisly murders and negative stories about hitchhikers. So I kind of adopted the rule that I wouldn't pick up hitchhikers. But there was one night back in 1984, must have been, that I picked up a hitchhiker. I was heading over to my buddy's house, David Young. David Young was a violin playing Christian that liked Christian rock, and he had cable TV and a VCR, and back in 84, that was almost a rarity. I don't think I had one at the time, but and he also had a Macintosh computer. So I was going over to his house, and he had a pool in his apartment complex. And anyway, so I was going over to his house to hang out, watch the latest episode of Real Videos, which was on TBN, which played the latest in Christian rock videos. And as I was driving on Highway 290, I saw a guy that looked like my old roommate, kind of a skinny guy, dark skin with an afro. And I thought, is that Henry? And I'd already gone past him too fast. It was kind of dusk. It was kind of getting dark. I couldn't really tell if it was him. So I did a big U-turn on the next exit on the freeway, came back around, and by the time I slowed down to see if it was Henry and found out, oh, it's not Henry, it was kind of too late. I kind of had to pick him up. At least I was kind of obligated to say I slowed down and pick him up. And so I meet this guy. He tells me his name is Jerry, and I ask where he's going. He's going back to Florida, and I tell him I'm just going up the road a few miles, but I can give him a ride for a little bit. And it was really like about 2 miles I was going. It was almost like that scene from the movie Jerk. How far are you going? The end of this fence? All right. Anyway, so I pick him up. Jerry tells me he's going to Florida. He's returning to Florida to kill his old man. And what happened was he left home in Florida, was on his way to California, and he got rolled, meaning he got robbed and beat up and his money taken in Houston, Texas at the bus station. And he was here in Austin, hitchhiking, headed back on 290 East, which goes to Houston, which ties into I-10, which goes all the way to Florida. So he was going back to Florida to kill his dad. And for some reason, I decided to bring up Jesus. And he goes, oh, don't bring up that God stuff to me right now. And I said, why? What have you got to lose? So then he opened up his heart and his mind, and I shared the simple gospel with him that Jesus died to forgive his sins, and he could have new life in Christ and forgiveness with God. And he accepted Christ in the passenger seat of my car, and I asked him if he wanted to go swimming with me at my friend's apartment, and he did. And that conversation, I remember telling him, dude, I love you, and I gave him a hug. And he said at that moment, the whole prayer to receive Christ and being baptized in the pool, it all made sense. by the simple act of giving him a hug and telling him I love him. So that was kind of cool. And what's really cool about this story is the church I was going to, Central Assembly of God, was in a building project, and they hired him. So I was able to get him a job. He was able to get an apartment. And all of this from just a random, quote-unquote, circumstance, quote-unquote, coincidence, quote-unquote, hitchhiking experience. So my friend Jerry, don't know where he is now, he gave me one of his shirts that I liked. I must have made a comment, dude, I really think that shirt's cool, and he gave it to me. It's a long sleeve kind of a dress shirt with pinstripes on it, and it has like holes where the you have to wear cufflinks on this shirt. Anyway, so there's my hitchhiking story, and you heard it right here in the car. Hope the audio comes out great. So join the discussion. Tell us about your hitchhiking stories. Tell us about why you don't pick up hitchhikers, or tell us about the time you got murdered and cut into pieces because you hitchhiked. Now, how would you tell us that story if you were like chopped up into pieces? I don't get it. That's illogical. So I'm just going to sign off. See you.